We'll get back to you.
I'm searching for Mr. Do-Right, Mr. Do-Right. All this love waiting just for you. When do I wanna see it? When do I wanna please ya? I wanna love it. I wanna love it down. Don't walk away. Can someone stop this rain from falling on my face? Treat me like a lady. You gotta take the time to show me. And I need a one-woman man. You got to show me. 'Cause it seems like the right thing to do. It's not a game for me, baby. It's just not their way.
Jade wasn't just another 90s R&B girl group. They were supposed to be the next big thing, competing with the likes of En Vogue and TLC. They had platinum records, hit singles, and the look to match. But what most people don't know is how quickly it all came crashing down. Behind the scenes, Jade's rise to fame was a carefully orchestrated plan by their record label, a plan that ultimately left them broke, betrayed, and at the center of lawsuits that are still unresolved to this day. And here's the craziest part. One member of the group didn't even know her former bandmates were using the Jade name again until she saw their concert flyer. So how did Jade go from sold-out tours and chart-topping hits to courtroom battles and bitter betrayals? The truth is messier than you think. Let's break it down. Jade's story began like many others in the 90s music scene, not with a natural connection between members, but with a calculated plan by music executives. In 1991, Giant Records, a label eager to cash in on the growing popularity of female R&B groups, set out to create their own hit-making trio. The idea was simple: create a group that bridged the gap between En Vogue's glamour and TLC's street edge. Cassandra Mills, the head of Giant Records' black music division, and producer Vassal Benford meticulously mapped out the group's concept. They decided on a trio because managing more members would be too complicated. They wanted women who were in their early to mid-20s, wore dog tags and boots for a distinct edge, and could each hold their own as a lead vocalist. Their first lineup featured Joy Marshall, Angela Slates, and Deborah Mitchell. But the group's chemistry wasn't clicking, and after some internal chaos, Angela and Deborah were dropped from the label. This left Joy as the sole remaining member. Determined to keep things moving, Cassandra and Vassal found replacements. Fellow Chicago native Tanya Kelly and Houston-born Di Reed joined the group, and with the addition of one letter to their name, Jade was officially born. The trio hit the ground running, blending their distinct voices into a sound that would soon define their identity. But because the group wasn't formed organically, it took time for them to find their rhythm. They worked tirelessly to perfect their stage presence and vocal harmony, knowing they had to compete with powerhouse groups like SWV and Xscape. The result? A group that looked like they had been singing together forever. Their first breakthrough came with the 1992 single I Wanna Love You, featured on the Class Act movie soundtrack. While it wasn't a massive hit, it gave Jade just enough momentum to start making waves in the industry. Little did anyone know that momentum would carry them to the top, but the road ahead was anything but smooth. By late 1992, Jade had found their stride. Their debut album, Jade to the Max, was released in November, and it didn't take long for the trio to become household names. The album's second single, Don't Walk Away, exploded onto the charts, peaking at number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100 and dominating radio airwaves across the country. It was an instant anthem, blending their smooth harmonies with an undeniable beat. The success of Don't Walk Away helped push the album to platinum status, cementing Jade as a force to be reckoned with in the R&B world. The group rode the wave of their newfound fame with a whirlwind of performances and appearances. They joined a summer tour alongside heavy hitters like Naughty by Nature, Silk, H-Town, and Shay, a lineup that had every 90s music fan buzzing. The chemistry Jade worked so hard to build was now on full display, and fans couldn't get enough. Their momentum carried them into new opportunities. In 1994, they made a guest appearance on The Tonight Show with with Jay Leno, and even landed a role in the coming-of-age film The Inkwell. Their star power was undeniable, and it seemed like nothing could stop them. That same year, Jade released their sophomore album, Mind, Body, and Song. While it didn't achieve the same level of success as their debut, it still went gold thanks to hits like Every Day of the Week. For many, this was the height of Jade's career, a group that perfectly captured the energy and sound of early 90s R&B. But behind the scenes, the cracks were starting to show. Jade's rise may have looked effortless to fans, but the pressure, industry politics, and financial realities were starting to take a toll. Little did they know, the glory days wouldn't last. Jade's success may have been shining on the surface, but beneath it was an all-too-common story in the music industry: money troubles and record label drama. As their fame grew, the group began to notice something troubling. They weren't seeing the financial rewards they had been promised. The turning point came when Joy Marshall called the royalty department at their label to ask when she could expect a payment. The response was like a punch to the gut. You're never gonna see a dime of all the millions of records you sold. What Joy learned next shattered the illusion of their success. Like many artists at the time, Jade had been trapped in a web of confusing and exploitative contracts. Two terms stood out: recoupment and cross-collateralization. Recoupment meant the label deducted all expenses, recording, marketing, touring, from the group's royalties. And cross-collateralization allowed the label to apply outstanding expenses from one album to future earnings. Essentially, the label made millions, while Jade walked away empty-handed. But that wasn't all. While the group was navigating their own financial nightmare, Giant Records, their label, was falling apart from the inside. In 1993, rumors began swirling about Charles Minor, the label's president. Reports surfaced that he had been caught having an affair in his office, a scandal that led to his abrupt resignation just 6 months later. And then came the death blow. In 1995, Giant Records rebranded as Revolution Records, firing 50% of its staff and dropping nearly a third of its artists. Despite their success, Jade wasn't part of the transition. They were cast aside, left to figure out their next steps on their own. The fallout was devastating. Joy later revealed how hard it was to process the sudden end to their career. We had worked so hard, sold millions of records, and then suddenly it was all gone. I didn't even have enough money to pay my rent. The same car she had before they got famous was the car she drove off in after the label dropped them. For a group that seemed poised to dominate the R&B scene for years, the abrupt end was a harsh reality check. But their story didn't end there. What came next would be years of reinvention, reunion attempts, and eventually legal warfare. After being unceremoniously dropped by their label, the members of Jade were left to pick up the pieces. The sudden end to their career was a harsh wake-up call, forcing each member to carve out a new path for themselves. Joy Marshall, who had been blindsided by the group's financial downfall, decided to turn her painful experiences into a mission to educate other artists. She wrote a book titled Answers to the 20 Most Asked Questions About the Music Business, offering insights into the industry's often predatory practices. Joy also launched a solo career, releasing a handful of songs and even a gospel album in 2007. Tanya Kelly took a different route. She lent her voice to Disney movie soundtracks before stepping away from music entirely to pursue a new passion: interior design. She became a sought-after designer for A-list celebrities, a stark contrast to her time touring with Jade. Reid returned to the stage, but this time as a background singer for music legend. She toured with the likes of Rod Stewart, Stevie Wonder, and Usher, solidifying herself as a versatile and reliable performer in the industry. Though they had each found their own way forward, the idea of reuniting as Jade was never completely off the table. In 2013, Joy and Tanya reached out to Di about a potential reunion. When she couldn't commit due to her touring schedule, the duo decided to move forward with a new member, Miracle Holloway, a contestant from The Voice. Together, they released a single titled Baby Love in 2014. But as time passed, the wounds from their breakup never fully healed. In 2019, Di made a surprising move by renewing the Jade trademark and adding Joy and Tanya as co-owners, a gesture that seemed to signal a willingness to collaborate. However, behind behind the scenes, tensions were brewing, and miscommunication would derail any hopes of a smooth reunion. By 2021, attempts to bring Di back into the fold had dissolved into conflicting narratives. Joy and Tanya claimed Di was non-responsive to their offers, while Di insisted that she had been in touch with Tanya and even made plans to move forward as a duo without Joy. This growing divide set the stage for the drama to come. What could have been a celebration of their legacy quickly spiraled into accusations, betrayals, and the beginning of a legal battle that would rock the group once again. By 2021, the idea of a full Jade reunion was looking less like a celebration and more like a battlefield. The once tight trio was now at the center of a legal storm, with conflicting stories about who was in the right and who was holding the group back. The drama escalated when Di Reed was blindsided by a flyer for the 90s Kickback Tour, listing Jade as part of the lineup. Except this version of Jade included Joy Marshall, Tanya Kelly, and their new member, Miracle Holloway, not Di. Feeling excluded, Di reportedly tried to reach out to her former bandmates, but her messages went unanswered. In response, Di took matters into her own hands. She sent a cease and desist letter to the tour's promoter, claiming that Joy and Tanya were unlawfully using the Jade name. She also accused them of excluding her from any profits generated from the tour. But the drama didn't stop there. Di allegedly contacted radio stations, promoters, and even Miracle herself, urging them to cut ties with Joy and Tanya. Joy and Tanya fired back, filing a counterclaim against Di in January 2022. In court documents, they alleged that Di's actions had cost them significant opportunities, including future performances. They claimed that her interference had damaged their reputation with promoters and resulted in lost revenue. Di, on the other hand, argued that she had every right to protect the Jade trademark, as she was a co-owner. She told the Houston Chronicle that Joy and Tanya's decision to perform as Jade without her was both legally questionable and personally hurtful. Di explained, "Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it." The legal battle only deepened the rift between the group's original members. While Joy and Tanya continued to perform as the Ladies of Jade, Di remained steadfast in her opposition, pursuing her claims in court. To add fuel to the fire, Joy and Tanya launched a new Instagram account under the name Ladies of Jade, which made no mention of Di at all. A clear signal that their split was more than just professional. The tension came to a head when Di filed a motion to dismiss Joy and Tanya's counterclaim. However, her motion was denied, leaving the lawsuits in a state of limbo. For fans, the legal battle was a heartbreaking reminder of how far Jade had fallen from their heyday. Instead of reuniting to celebrate their iconic legacy, the group was now locked in a bitter fight over a name that once symbolized unity and success. The fallout from Jade's legal battles painted a grim picture of what happens when unresolved tensions and business disputes take center stage. By 2022, the group's story wasn't about platinum records or chart-topping hits anymore. It was about lawsuits, allegations, and broken trust. Di Reed's lawsuit against Joy, Tanya, Miracle Holloway, and their promoter argued that the group was using the Jade name without properly compensating her as a co-owner of the trademark. She accused them of profiting off the legacy they built together while intentionally excluding her from performances and earnings. But Joy and Tanya told a very different story. In their countersuit, they claimed that Di's interference, calling promoters, reaching out to Miracle, and sending cease and desist letters had caused irreparable damage to their reputation. According to them, Di's actions had made it nearly impossible to book future performances, as promoters now viewed the group as too risky and controversial to work with. The back and forth played out not only in courtrooms, but also in the media. Di spoke candidly to the Houston Chronicle, saying she felt betrayed by how Joy and Tanya handled the situation. "It's not just about the name," she explained. "It's about respect. We built this together, and for them to move forward without me feels like a slap in the face." Meanwhile, Joy and Tanya maintained that they had every right to perform as the Ladies of Jade, especially after making efforts to bring Di back into the fold. They claimed Di was unresponsive to their offers and unwilling to collaborate, forcing them to make difficult decisions to keep the group alive. Despite their legal battles, Joy, Tanya, and Miracle continued to perform under the Ladies of Jade banner, playing shows on the 90s Kickback Tour. Fans who attended these performances were met with a bittersweet experience. While the music brought back nostalgic memories, It was hard to ignore the absence of 1/3 of the original lineup. Di's efforts to stop the performances didn't end with cease and desist letters. According to court documents, she reached out to radio stations, promoters, and even fans, claiming that Joy and Tanya had no right to use the Jade name. This created further division, not just within the group, but among their fan base, many of whom were unsure which side to support. As of now, the lawsuits remain unresolved, with neither side backing down. For fans, the idea of a true Jade reunion feels more out of reach than ever. Instead of celebrating their legacy, the group's members have become entangled in a legal and emotional tug-of-war that seems to have no end in sight. What's left is a painful reminder of how business disputes can destroy even the most cherished bonds. Jade, once a symbol of 90s R&B excellence, now stands as a cautionary tale about the price of fame, mismanagement, and unresolved conflict. Jade's story is one of triumph, tragedy, and unresolved drama. They were a group that gave us unforgettable hits and represented the golden era of 90s R&B. But behind the smooth harmonies and glamorous performances was a web of industry exploitation, personal conflict, and unmet expectations that eventually tore them apart. What makes their story even more heartbreaking is that the talent and legacy are still there. Millions of fans still listen to their music and reminisce about a time when Jade was at the top of the charts. And yet, instead of coming together to celebrate what they achieved, the group has spent years battling over a name and a legacy that could have been so much more. The lawsuits, the accusations, and the public fallout have overshadowed what made Jade special in the first place, their music. For fans, it's bittersweet to see their idols reduced to court filings and cease and desist letters when they could be filling arenas with their timeless hits. But as their story continues to unfold, one question remains: can Jade ever reconcile? Or is this the final chapter in their turbulent history? Let us know in the comments. Do you think Jade can overcome their differences and reunite, or has the damage been done? And don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out our other videos about the untold stories of 90s music legends.